Hello everybody, this is Cheri at DJ Sundries, and today we are going to make another tag. Now you may recall earlier in the series we did a black chalkboard type card where I had some tags that I had used a black gesso on. Now when I did those bases, I actually did quite a few bases so that I would have a stash of black gessoed tags. So like all the others in our series, on the back we have the to and the from. Now this is a bit messy. I'm okay with that. If you want it to look really sharp, you probably could go back over and put another tag and back up with another tag. But for these, I'm not going to be doing that. So I have my black gesso tag. I'm going to be using this Tim Holtz Star stencil. I'm going to be using some Simon Hurley Lunar paste and some silver embossing powder from Ranger. I have my Versamark here, and then I'm also going to be using some Masking Magic from Gina K Designs. Didn't pull that on the side. And you will see why this is really important for this project in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and get set up. We'll set some of these things aside. And the stamp set that I'm using is an old one from Close to My Heart called Hymns of Praise Holiday. And this one says, Noel, born is the King of Israel. Now, this is the only one of these that I need to stamp right now. So I can position it anywhere I want on my stamp press. I do want to make sure that I have my stamp press set up correctly, because the last time I did something on this particular stamp press, I actually was not using clear stamps. I was using a red rubber stamp. So I'm just going to set this up, get this about in the center, or even to the high side of center. It would be better than to the low side for this tag. So we're going to start with that. Got that all set up. It was very sticky and completely removed my tag, so I'm just going to reposition it there. That'll be good, just like that. Now I do have my embossing powder here, or the powder tool, so that I can not have stray, because I definitely don't want stray embossing powder on this, because it will be very noticeable, because I'm using silver. Very, very noticeable. So now we're just going to ink up with Versamark ink, get it nice and juicy, and then stamp down. I'm going to gently press, not because the Noel, but because the born is the King of Israel, because it is much finer. I'm going to give it another quick impression. I think it's probably fine, but just to be sure, I don't want to miss any of my image. Okay, so now we'll set that aside and grab a wipe and wipe off the stamp. I don't like leaving Versamark on my stamps. I just think it gooky. I don't mind some ink, but for some reason I just don't like the way the stamps feel if Versamark's been sitting on them. I feel like they're harder to clean. So we'll go ahead and get that cleaned right now. The Versamark will stay wet long enough that it won't be a problem, so I'm not worried about that at all. And then we'll just move that to the side, move the stamp platform to the side. And I have a little coffee filter here, and we will just dump our embossing powder right on it. This is not one that I have in a container, so I find that a coffee filter works really well. You can also use a piece of copy paper. I just like to use this because I have a couple of them and they don't take up a lot of room in the drawer with all of the embossing tools. So now we're just going to heat emboss it. Now remember, it's always best if you kind of get your heat tool warm before you start embossing. So I'm getting it warm to the side, and this will emboss very quickly. all done. So there is the embossing part, and that's pretty as it is. I am going to take a microfiber towel that I have in my drawer, if I can find it. Okay, I'll take a regular towel and just gently wipe off some of that extra embossing because I really don't want that on there. Okay, so now for the next step. Now this is what makes it pretty, really pretty. But I will tell you that if you're planning on using this to mass produce, this one's a little bit more difficult because if you don't keep the stamp, the stencil really clean, it's really easy to get stuff on the back of this as you're going from tag to tag, and it can make a big mess. So just be aware about that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little piece of this. Now, you could, if you wanted to, which I started to do earlier, you could stamp on your Masking Magic and have the perfect shape. For what I'm doing, I don't need it to be quite that precise. I do want it to be just a little narrower. I don't need it to be that precise, so I'm just doing a little strip like that. You can use this actually a few times before it gets gunky enough you have to throw it away, just so you know, but you will have to replace it if you're mass producing. And then you just kind of line up wherever you want your stars to line on your tag. I kind of wanted mine to be random, so that's why I have it kind of shifted up. Now you could tape this down. I'm not going to. I didn't have any problem when I was doing it, doing a practice run. I really didn't find the need to tape it down, but you may feel more comfortable taping it down, and that's fine. Go ahead and tape it down. So I'm just going to hold this here, and I'm just going to gently, with my palette knife, scoop this over, cleaning as I go, and then come to the bottom. I mean, you could put it over the middle. That's why your magic's over there, because it's not going to get on your image, but I just didn't want to waste the paste. And then scrape the rest back. You're going to want to clean off your stencil as well as your palette knife before it has a chance to dry, because it does get a little bit messy. I want to use press and seal on this so that it will help keep it gunky instead of drying it out. I want it to keep it moist as long as I possibly can. And then I'm just going to very carefully dismount and set this to the side. And there we have, you can see I've still got the stars over there, which is why I put the magic on. And I'm going to go ahead and remove it now so that you can see the tag, but be very, very careful. And then there is your finished tag, just like that. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then we will come back and finish up the tag. Thankfully, because I have pre-prepped this, all I need to do is just clean off my mat because I don't want to get it on my next tag, but I actually have one all prepped and ready to go. I'm not sure how long it takes this Simon Hurley Lunar paste to dry. I live in a more humid climate, although we're kind of dry right now, but I just let mine sit overnight because I just didn't want to mess with it, but it probably doesn't take that long. So here we have one, already has all dried, completely ready to go. And then I have a piece of seam binding that I have sprayed with Tart Cranberry Distress Mica Spray. So I have a pretty red ribbon. And again, we're just gonna tie this in a little bow. And actually, I think on this one, instead of tying a bow, I think I'm just gonna knot it and just tie it in kind of a double knot. Kind of trim it up, make it look a little bit more intentional, I guess. And there we have our finished tag. Noel, born as a king of Israel. I really like the silver on the black. I just think it's a really sharp contrast there, and I think that this will be a very fun tag to put on gifts. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.